Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh and very good morning. I'm Razwan, Muhammad Razwan Muhammad from Malaysian Takaful Association, the moderator for today, where we're looking into the topic of the importance of flood insurance and Takaful. Live from Financial Education Network, FAN, studio in Sasana Kijang. The event is organized by FAN, of Bank Negara Malaysia in collaboration with Persatuan Insurans Arm Malaysia and Malaysian Takaful Association. Established in 2016, FAN serves as interagency platform aimed to increase the impact of financial education initiative to alleviate the financial literacy among Malaysians. FAN members include ministries, Bank Negara Malaysia, GLICs and government bodies. So for today, we hope that you will stay tuned with us and gain knowledge and awareness on flood protection and that are available, affordable and accessible from the insurance and Takaful companies. So feel free to send us the question through the MTA and FAN Facebook page as well as PM YouTube channel. So for today, we have few prominent speakers. We have Mr. Marcel Omar, CEO of Swiss Re, Sheikh Zainuddin Ishak, President of and also CEO of Malaysian Re, and Anthony Lee, Chairman and Chairman of PIAM and also CEO of AIG Malaysia Insurance Berhad. So Mr. Marcel, he here in Malaysia since 2009. So with Swiss Re Takaful and have almost 30 years of industry experience working in Switzerland and across Asia. He is the management committee of Malaysian Takaful Association, whereas Mr. Zainuddin has over 30 years of experience in insurance industry covering range of business and functional roles in Malaysia, Hong Kong and also Saudi Arabia. So he is the management committee of PIAM and has also served as the chairman of MTA before. And finally, we have Mr. Anthony Lee, currently the chairman of PIAM. Anthony has been in the insurance sector for 20 years. Prior to Malaysia, he's also the CEO of AIG Vietnam and also current chairman of PIAM and American Malaysian Chamber of Commerce. So let us start our session. I always like this quote, what people do depends on how they feel about what they know. The knowledge of insurance is always, accessible to everyone. But how do we feel about it? That really will turn it into action. So we have this talk through process. We will take the audience through a talk through process where we go into the flood risk, try to digest a little bit about flood risk, the emerging risk in Malaysia, and then the risk management aspect of it before we go into what are the protection available for it. Now, our goal today is to create better understanding, awareness, and then hopefully some knowledge in terms of how flood cover can protect your business and also your property. So without further ado, I would like to pass it to our first panelist, Mr. Marcel. So flood is nothing new in Malaysia. I mean, recently we've been basically shocked by this flood that is happening in various parts of Malaysia. So, flood disaster has brought severe impact, and based on your experience, what is the nature of flood? Is it something that is basically predictable, or something that we need to put a lot of attention now in terms of unpredictability of it? Can I pass it to you, Mr. Marcel?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you very much for the kind invitation and the kind introduction. Please let me start by expressing my sincere sympathy, deepest sympathy for all the people who have been affected by recent floods across Malaysia. Some of my colleagues and friends were actually affected, and I was very sad to see how it has affected their livelihood. As you have said, Encik Razwan, floods are nothing new for Malaysia, and we are accustomed to having floods around, especially across the East Coast during the monsoon season. However, what was very surprising about the recent floods in the Klang Valley was the fact the loss amount, which was very high. According to recent estimations, over 6 billion ringgit. And also the location of the flood, because not many people expected flood to happen in Shah Alam and the areas it affected. Actually, losses from flood have increased, not only in Malaysia, but across the globe. If we look at statistics from the past 50 years, flood losses have increased by about 5 times since 1970 globally. And there are various reasons for it. First of all, naturally, there is population growth across the globe. So in each event, more people are affected. Then also property values have increased, especially in exposed areas. Then there is climate change, which leads to changing weather patterns. And finally, also environmental degradation, such as deforestation and biodiversity loss. So looking at these factors, unfortunately, I think flood losses will even increase in future because population will continue to grow. People will continue to build buildings in coastal areas and by this exposed to floods and sea level rise. Also, the warmer climate will cause more heavy and severe rain. And finally, with all the buildings and all the surfaces being covered, there is less way for the rain to evaporate. So unfortunately, it will stay with us.
Mm-hmm. So we used to think that this flood risk is something that is a domain of the East Coast, where it's closer to the sea, affected by monsoon. But recent flood shows that, it could be otherwise. Like, for example, the recent flood, we have the flood in Shah Alam and Klang, most probably contributed by the sea level or the rain. But we also have this flood in Bentong and also in Langat, where, it's due to other reason, where, we have the gush of water from the stream. And at the same time, there's flood in Malacca, in Pahang. So there is no trend whatsoever that I can say. So how true is that in this sense? Are we saying that there is no more trend for flood?
I think the trend, unfortunately, goes only in one direction, and that's increasing. I mean, recently, Swiss Re, my company, has done a research which shows that from climate change alone, flood losses, just considering climate change, will increase by up to 65% in the next 50 years in Malaysia, and without even considering other factors. So I think flood risk will remain for us. It will become an emerging threat, also for non-life insurers and general Takaful operators. Something we have to prepare ourselves that it will affect us more and more, and also the people.
Can we cope with this increase? It's exponential increase. I can open to anyone that can share on this, because it sounds that it's quite exponential, 65% increase. Are we able to cope it in terms of preparation, or we have NADMA? But can NADMA alone basically rely on this, or we as a people also need to do something for that? I open it to anyone.
I would agree. I think we all have to take responsibility, right? We have to start educating everybody from kids level all the way up. So if we're going to get bigger rains, lasting longer, heavier, how do you do with all this water, right? I think there are examples. Singapore, for example, they built the Marina Bay sands. The basin is basically to capture all the water because Orchard Road used to flood, because they also saw a trend in increasing. So we have to look at, at those urban areas, which has a lot of concentration of people living, factories, etc. How do we deal with that water when it should come, right? And then there are many, many different solutions. And some don't need necessarily to have a lot of money. The old floodplains was the original way of dealing with it. But of course, we've gone to build over it, or we put concrete on top of it so the water flows too fast. Many, many examples. And then also how we, should we put things in the basement like power plants, gensets, all this sort of stuff, right? If you get cut off, how can you survive for periods of time? I think the old kampong house used to be on stilts. I mean, that was a very good reason why that was the way it was. Right? So we've forgotten all this stuff. Yeah. So I think we need to come back to that and work together, whole nation approach.
If I may, Chairman, Ridwan, the lesson learned from the biggest flood in the history of insurance actually is quite near to us. We have the Thai flood back in 2011. You have about 15 billion losses, insured losses.
That is in USD.
This is in USD. And post settlement, when the adjuster completed their assessment, the damage due to flood and also flood management, actually the contribution is 50-50. So meaning, if we were to do a similar study here in the recent flood, the one aspect of the damage is the damage due to flood. Okay, water coming in, we are not able to save our property. As a result of that, we got damage. So that's directly caused by flood. But the indirect consequence, the flood management, after the flood, it takes days. In Thailand, it takes weeks actually for the river to flow to the sea. So because they have some of the, for example, the flood mitigation is not serving in saving life and property. Probably it's more of saving the capital at the time. They're trying to save the capital, Bangkok, with the water coming to Bangkok. So as a result of that, the water are being diverted to more industrial. So the damage is far more severe. But you look at stream water, for example, you have instances where people are complaining that the stagnant water. And if this water can be channeled back to the river or to the sea as soon as possible after the flood, then you are able to minimize. You are able to minimize the damage. This is a personal conversation that I have with one of my neighbor. So happened work in the one of the biggest rice mill in this country. He said that inability first to access the yard somewhere in Shalam. So it takes few days. And then the water, the stagnant water, stay for probably a week. So if you have a rice, no matter how you stack, then if these remain submerged, then the whole thing will be damaged. So we need to look at that aspect also, Radwan.
I'm glad that you basically raised about this Thai flood in 2011. And where there is a lot of things that is ensuing after Thai flood. One of it is that people start to relook back into their risk management studies. But on the other hand, if I can only assume, there is also triggering for, that is also triggered a hardening of the insurance rates over there in Malaysia. Are we seeing that after the recent flood that we will be having? Will the premium of the flood special perils will be increased for that?
Thanks. That's a good question. Naturally, if you hear that exposure increases by 65%, you might think, oh, then premium or contribution also has to increase by 65%. However, this is not necessarily the case because just recently PM has done an analysis and has shown that the premium for the flood extension under the motor policy has actually reduced by 30% in the last 5 years due to the fact that more people have bought the flood extension. So in case that more people will buy flood cover, potentially also the price will come down. So it's not necessarily said that if the exposure goes up, then also the price goes up. There could be, as long as more people buy the cover, the price could actually even go down.
Oh, that's very interesting. So let's ask Mr. Zainuddin. Now, I will come from the hypothetical question that it will never happen to me. Why should I buy a flood cover, for example? So what will be the risk management side of all of this scenario that is basically happening?
Thank you, Ridwan. I have the opportunity actually to be at, you call it ground zero of the flood in 2014, the Manek Urai in Kelantan, because the firm that I work there, they have some program. So I have a first-hand assessment, for example, on the depth of the water and the probability of, the water will rise into that level. I was at the school, one of the secondary school. According to the victim, typically government or JKR will build a school in more secured area. Yeah, so taking into account of 1 in 100 kind of years event. So normally, as compared to residential in that area, probably school are a bit more scientifically designed in the location. At the peak of the flood, the victim said the water reached to the second level of the school, and all the kampung people have to scramble and seek refuge at the third level of the school, and the water is gushing with lock, and banging the wall of the school. And if you look at post-flood, when I'm there, then I see that it's impossible. It's impossible for the water to reach at that level. So these are the things that I suppose, back to your question, whether you are staying in a high area, that's more for the property. But for the motor, Anthony, I'm sure you know that you agree that for motor, you will drive anywhere. You can be anywhere because of our mobility. So not necessarily you are staying in Damansara High and flood, but on that day, the unfortunate day, you might be in Taman Sri Muda, attending a wedding or whatever.
Exactly.
So I would say to those have that kind of argument, think back. The level of water that we thought that's impossible, is something that is quite real. It's a phenomenon that I think we need to accept. And for the motor insurer, I think I would suggest the listener outside there, you need to. This is relatively very cheap and affordable protection. You just have to extend it to your policy. Talk to your agent or your distributor or your relationship manager from the bank. Find out about flood. And how then you are able to incorporate that into your protection.
That is even more so for our SME listener that listening to this webinar. For individual, obviously their concern might be their property and their car. However, for the SMEs, they have additional concern, which is about their business. So from your experience and point of view, can they basically go to the insurer or the Takaful operator and basically discuss on their flood protection or risk management need with this organization?
Okay, I'll pass some of the question to Anthony, but I'll answer some of the question first. If you look at the composition of the loss, Anthony, the recent flood, we are talking about the government statistic talking about between 5 to 6 billion. And if you were to do a further analysis on the sector by sector, based on the study, about 2 billion losses is coming from infrastructure, road, bridges. So practically these are economic losses which government have to pay. Then you have manufacturing. Very interestingly, it's about 1.3 billion of industry, manufacturing industry are being affected by the flood. And manufacturing, typically they are large firm, and they do have advice from consultant and all that. But the one that I think is quite important for us to look at another two sector. One is the motor industry. Motor industry, a motor vehicle damage is being quantified at 1.3 billion. 1.3 billion ringgit is a lot of money. And most of these people are not insured. And the other one is the business. The business is where the SME. Business, they are projecting about between 500 million to 600 million ringgit. And typically the SME, they may have cover, but it's quite limited. maybe the machine being mortgaged, then they have cover. Maybe the property also mortgaged, they have cover. But what happened to the business interruption as a result of flood? I think the other part of the question, I probably would like Anthony.
So from your point of view, based on what I mentioned just now, how can we close this protection gap that we are having right now?
I think it's important for awareness. Yeah? This session is also a good session for the public to to make aware that there are instruments that you can use, protection that you can purchase, you can consider that whether you are individual or whether you are SME owner, there are things protection that you need to consider. And the best advice they can get is I'm sure you will have your bank, you will have your agent, or you can also engage directly to the insurance company.
Well, one thing that Mr. Marcel had mentioned just now, which is quite interesting, is the reverse effect of everyone participating in this, basically, having a flood cover. If everyone can basically participate in this, it will reduce the price of the flood cover and therefore benefit everyone and thus closing the gap. So let's answer the question. Now, a lot of people would like to know, we are talking about being the product being accessible, being available, and being affordable. But what kind of product that is available is outside, and what kind of cover that I may need for myself as an individual, or perhaps as an SME. Perhaps Mr. Anthony can enlighten us on that.
Sure. So I think if you look at product availability, it is there, right? So you can get it for cars, you can get it for motorbikes. Motorbikes is as little as 10 ringgit a year, so that's really not very expensive. You can get it for homes, but all of these, it's a special peril, it's an additional thing. So you either get a completely comprehensive package for the home, which automatically includes flood cover, or for in the sake of motor, you have to do the extension as a special peril, right? So the products are there, and I would argue they are affordable. I can show some tables later on that shows, I think a Proton Saga 7-year-old worth about 20,000 ringgit. It's probably 50 to 100 ringgit a year for flood cover. So it is not unaffordable, right? So that's very, you've got it up there. So that's perfect. So have a look, on the left, Proton Saga, as I gave there earlier. And obviously as the car gets more expensive, the premium will go up. But if you look at the cost per day, that's really nothing, right? I think you spend more on a teh tarik happily, quite easily. So it's there. If I look at, the key is a lot of people not aware, and what I hear rather sadly is a lot of people, they'll buy it, and then after the first year, when it comes to renewal, they didn't experience a flood, they say, I'll save the money, I don't want to spend that. So that's the wrong mindset, right? Because if you lose your car, that's your car loan or whatever it is, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 ringgit, it's gone, right? You still have to pay the loan, you don't even have a car to use. So you are immediately set back. And if you take the SME, even more dangerous, because you've taken loans to build your business, right? You're selling, you're successful, your whole livelihood is wiped out. If you try and go to the bank and say, can I take another loan for more money to restart my business? Even if they give it to you, it's going to cost a lot of money. So double your cost. So, the simple thing, actually insurance is a very, very cheap way of, starting up again, because immediately we come along and you'll get a lump sum of what you were insured for, and straight away you can start up again without any worries, right? So the speed of, getting back on your feet again and recovering, that's very important. And if you look at a macro level, all the SMEs actually, in some way or other, are supply chain to the medium and bigger companies, right? So everyone gets affected. You can't sort of ignore that. So I think we have to make a really strong push, work together, whether it's with banks and educate SMEs, so this is a great forum to make people understand it's there. And why is it in more developed economies, there's a much higher penetration for flood cover, right? People don't think twice about flood cover. So, sad that it takes an event like this to obviously trigger awareness. Everyone's talking about it. We're even thinking about what you said earlier, if perhaps we model it, and maybe if flood cover was compulsory across all classes, that of course would bring the price down. But of course everyone's got to be willing to pay it. So it's something I think we need to look at, because we've had this 1 in 100 year event already. All around the world it's happening. Germany had more than 1 in 100-year flood.
That's
you know,
fairly recently.
and so you know, unfortunately, weather patterns are not limited to countries, right? It's a global thing. It's you know, wherever you happen to sit, it's unfortunate.
So you did mention about the claim process just now, you know,
Yes.
like getting back to your feet after the event. Based on the recent experience, how fast basically an insurance or Takaful company can basically pay the claim on the flood?
So I think you saw, we were pretty quick. So immediately what you need to do is, you know, check your policy, call your insurer or your intermediary agent, then furnish all the details. And literally we process within 7 to 14 days. In some cases, you know, if all is there, we don't even require police report in this case, right? So everything, we've tried to smoothen it out, set up call centers so people could ring. Because, you know, at the beginning, all the tow truck operators were completely inundated, right? So we actually got tow truck operators from other parts of Malaysia to come along to help, you know, and all of that was very important and helpful. So I think first few days obviously was traumatic, but after that, most people recovered pretty quickly and payments were made very fast. I've heard very, very few complaints actually, which is refreshing.
Okay, now if say I'm convinced that already that I need to have this flood protection, but so how can I basically I have a policy that already running halfway. So can I add flood cover along the way?
Yeah.
And if yes, basically how much it will cost me basically?
Okay. Well, each risk obviously depends on the risk, but you can add halfway. Just call the insurer up, just say I'd like to do it, and they will come and. In some cases, they don't need to do an assessment. Some cases, they might want to come and do an assessment. So it should be pretty straightforward.
Even so for motor policy?
Yep.
Okay. Right. So we have one of these questions that we have earlier, basically asking about when they have a comprehensive policy, why do I need to buy additional cover when it's already comprehensive? So
this is unfortunately old terminology, right, which we have to change. The way it works with motor is you've got third party, which is the basic. Comprehensive is third party and includes damage to your own car, right? Third party doesn't. And because that was under the tariff and that was what was compulsory from the special peril was where flood is. So special peril are additional special perils. Flood is part of that. So it's terminology. We have to get people used to the terminology. But you know, it's also very important. Always read your policy, see what you are covered for. Don't just assume things are all the same, right? So it is important to understand that. Special perils for motor has always been that way. But maybe there's a way of, you know, changing the terminology so people are perhaps less confused.
Another question that some of the question that we receive basically is like, okay, I have bought this, if I say I bought this, buy this policy for my house, but at the same time, I am a small SME that doing some business at the back of my house. When there is claim, which side of my property is covered? Does it include also my business? My small,
very good question. Normally, business is excluded, right? So you need to declare that to your insurer upfront. So to make sure that it is covered.
Even though I just cook, you know, like goreng pisang or...
Well, again, it depends how much, right? If you're cooking 5,000 goreng pisangs a day, and you've got 50 people at the back cooking away, the risk is a bit different from just your mother or your grandmother cooking at the back. So you just have to understand that, right? So there's a reason why things are excluded, because there's an assumption of a house. But if someone's doing something a lot more than normal activity, it obviously has to be looked at differently because the risk is different.
And perhaps another question that is relevant to what you mentioned just now. One of the questions is that recently government has introduced Pelindungan Tenang where, you know, for those B40, they can go and they get the voucher and they can go and basically subscribe to, let's say, either Takaful or Life Family. Now, it also includes for motor, I mean, for this new Pelindungan Tenang, RM75. Is it also extended for flood cover?
So not yet, and it's not yet including motor either. It is part of the plan, but I think it's in the second phase. So the first phase is just looking at very basic products, which is, you know, personal accident, life, things like that. But the plan is to probably second half of the year extend it further. So that's not yet available. But look, we've already seen a lot of increase amongst the B40 that are eligible. This is the Bantuan Negara, I can't remember the term, but that's the one that is targeted.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. So surprisingly, which is a nice thing, we've seen a lot of take up. So people are quite excited. And my colleague here, Zainuddin, is very deeply involved.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. This is something maybe is good also to share about the trajectory of the Pelindungan Tenang since we launched about 3 months ago, and most of the I suppose interests are generated via digital. Okay, this because these are low premium. Normally agents, have less motivation to promote this, but through digital. So I suppose for those who are listening, and there are if you are entitled as part of the B40 program, and then you need to use your I suppose the initiative to search for the opportunity for you to purchase this. Because it's absolutely, I suppose, free if the product is less than now 75 ringgit.
Yeah.
So there are products that within 75 ringgit, then it's going to be absolutely free for you. It's paid, the voucher is reimbursed by Ministry of Finance.
And this goes back to, the whole issue with insurance awareness is when you experience a claim or someone who experienced a claim, after that, you will always buy insurance, right? Because you'll say, my God, that was fantastic. I mean, I've experienced car in a flood. I've, always bought car flood. It's completely part of your daily life, right? Yeah. And so hopefully this Pelindungan Tenang will really, people will see it, feel it, and say, this is a really good thing.
I was recently being interviewed by this journalist, and one thing that is very interesting that she basically enlightened to me is that there's always a perception, even though it's for free. I mean, there's always a skepticism that how about the continuity, the sustainability of it. So as a matter of fact, she went to interview another, let's say, person. The interest is not there because while there is an understanding and knowledge, but there is no awareness that this is something that I need. I believe that people still see insurance cover as a luxury that they will have and not a priority that they should basically focusing on. What is your view about that? What is your view about being priority in life?
Yeah, we need to, I suppose, dismiss the notion that Pelindungan Tenang or free is a marketing gimmick. Absolutely, there's no truth in that. Because actually there is premium, it's just paid by the government. The insurance industry and Takaful operator price their product, which meet the criteria of Pelindungan Tenang. It has to be protection, it has to be reasonably priced and value for money. I think that's the criteria. And this is not a scheme where to attract you and later you have to pay more. No, so you need to make sure that find out about this product. I suppose I use the search engine or internet to find about and use digital, the most successful channel to promote this product. And then you will then appreciate that, that this product will give you the benefit of protection which you need, because it has to be a need-based. It's not something that is being created. What are the needs? So you need let's say flood cover if there is a thing in the Pelindungan, or you need personal accident, or
I think medical, especially with pandemic, people are thinking very differently now, right? So it's already changed people's minds. Now they think, oh my God, I really want to make sure I can take care of everybody. So it's just a natural maturity of society, right? So as Malaysians become, wealthier, more educated, they will naturally see. Travel insurance is another good example, right? You'll see, certainly the older generation will always buy travel insurance. I mean, of course, we haven't been able to travel the last 2 years, but previously to that, because you just need to have one accident overseas and your hospital bill is 5-6 figures, right? So, and the premium is tiny for what you get back. So it's just understanding the world that we live in. There's always risk.
Yeah.
We can always pray and hope that nothing happens, but that's not a very good strategy. So better that you have something, and it's to help the rest of your family members. Otherwise, they all have to come up and take money out of their pockets to help you out, right? So that's actually quite unfair. So the same concept, except you're giving it to an insurance company to take care of you. You don't have to rely on your family and friends. So it's a mindset thing, I think.
So when you are, sorry Omar, when you are able to outsource this concern, so you have a need and you have a risk, and you are addressing it. You transfer your risk to Takaful and insurance company. So for a reasonably amount of premium protection every year, and you need this because you need to have a peace of mind, because you can't live with the risk where your financial exposure is great and will destroy your wealth, for example. You need to have some form of assurance, some amount of money that you need to spend to buy this peace of mind. You are transferring your risk to the insurance company and also the Takaful operator.
You have something?
Yeah, just wanted to add, I think the beauty of this scheme, Perlindungan Tenang, is really that it brings the concept of insurance and Takaful to a part of the population who might not really understand this concept and might not yet be aware what insurance or Takaful is. I mean, I'm coming from Switzerland, which has the highest insurance penetration worldwide. And for us, it's like buying a loaf of bread or electricity bill. You buy your insurance once a year because there are risks attached to life, and insurance is a good way, or Takaful, to deal with it. And that's hopefully, inshallah, one day Malaysia is in the same situation. And I think flood is a very good example. As long as we as insurance Takaful operator can offer a affordable and accessible product, it's really something which it's to the benefit of everybody. And even if you might not pay, there is no flood happening, elsewhere in Malaysia is happening, and if you buy a Takaful product, you support everybody who buys a Takaful product.
Yep, absolutely.
So I really hope, inshallah, here in Malaysia we get to the same mindset.
If I can just extend a little bit the difference between the Western thinking. Omar is coming from Switzerland, and he shared that the Swiss people, they are treating insurance as a requirement. So every year, what are their requirements in life? I need to travel, I need to pay loan, buy food, I need to buy insurance. So that's part of the overall, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly allocation. And if they don't make a claim, it's okay because there's a requirement. But in comparison to the mindset of probably this part of the world, we think that if we don't make a claim, then it's a wrong product. We have been cheated. We have been cheated, and we feel that either we lapse our policy or we try to find a way to make a claim which in the first place is not claimable. Because when you pay premium, you want to make a claim. The mindset, yeah.
So, and when people have that mindset, eventually, it will have a ripple effect. The cost of insurance will be increasing.
Exactly.
That's what happened in the health insurance.
Exactly.
Absolutely right.
So these are the things, I suppose, it takes a lot actually to change the mindset. That you need to treat insurance as part of your necessity. It's a cost. And if everybody behave like that, Anthony, I'm sure the cost is going to be very sustainable, right?
Of course.
It's very interesting when we talk about this skepticism about people looking into insurance and Takaful company as an organization that always wanted to make a profit. But recent flood had shown otherwise. There's a lot of initiative or relief
Yeah.
have been done.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can share some of the initiative that being done by insurance and Takaful company outside, those just paying claim. So
There was a lot. I mean, good point, right? So we immediately, a lot of insurers sent tow trucks, even if you didn't have flood cover, to get your cars out. So that was, normally not covered, it's free. Helping with the claims process. And some have actually different products where you pay a small lump sum, let's say for 50 ringgit, you get a 5,000 ringgit payout if your car. So that's a cheaper way of getting flood cover, right? It's more affordable. PM also, with Takaful, so we set up a fund, 2.4 something million, to help people. So if they really have their car underwater, they obviously have to send it to a workshop to get cleaned out. So that fund pays part of that cleanup cost. So, that's CSR, right? So immediately we're there to help. And even a lot of our members actually went there to help people out, brought water up there, etc. So a lot of initiatives there outside of, what was covered. Because everyone, I think, felt bad. The whole rakyat was there, to help these people. It was unprecedented.
Yeah. So meaning to say, insurance and Takaful are not only in the business of making profit, we are also basically in the business of creating value to our stakeholder, the government, the society, and of course to the industry. So before, can I have like a parting word from each and every panelist, in terms of what we should do? What is your advice to the audience now that we know that it is basically available, it is accessible, and definitely affordable, and even better if, let's say, everyone participate in this to make it more affordable to everyone. So I leave it to the panelists. Myself, you like to go first?
I think people really need to change or have the mindset that Takaful is really there as a peace of mind. And that even if you pay a premium, and as Encik Zainuddin said, you might not claim a loss, you get the peace of mind, which counts for a lot. And in case of Takaful, you even help the entire Ummah, so you get hereafter benefits, which you don't get if you don't buy a Takaful policy. So there are benefits attached which go beyond just getting back the contribution or premium you paid. And nowadays, with digitalization, it becomes very easy to buy cover. So in the old times, you had to engage an agent, which is still valuable, but you have other means to buy policies. So it's really, you have, in a way, no excuses not to buy cover. So for me, really, the key message is please consider, if you don't have cover yet, consider it now, because as we said, climate change and other threats are there. Unfortunately, risks will be increasing, so you better protect yourself.
It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Mr. Zainuddin.
Okay. I suppose a lot has been spoken about, the need and the benefit of buying a protection, be it flood, be other protection like travel or personal accident. But you look at the current, when we have issue flood, then we will then realize, we need to talk about this. We have this forum, the awareness. And my worry is what happened after this. Is there a follow through? Is anybody, will then do things differently? And there is a chance that, all this trauma of witnessing high water from your nice TV coach at home, or you yourself experience at the ground zero, this will be forgotten. This will be forgotten. But my suggestion, I suppose, we need to take this as the opportunity to really look at what are the role of we as an insurance industry, what are the role as, the government, NADMA, and all the other disaster management agency within the government apparatus, and what are the role of the public, So for the public, I start with the public first. The public, I suppose, the advice is you need to look at the needs of protection. You will never believe that some of this protection, that the cost for you to purchase is not something that beyond your means. Okay, it's something that very affordable. And there are pelindungan tenang or whatever, which actually the government is giving the voucher. It's not free. It is paid by the government. So the public need to have this awareness. And for the insurance industry, I suppose our job is to engage between the public, which is our customer, and the other government agency as our stakeholders. We can't have a product where all those that in the flood area will buy the product, all those people that not in the will. So at the end, the cost of flood is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be very expensive.
Yeah. Before we go to Anthony, I have two questions that is coming from the audience. One, I believe they answered before, but just for the purpose. Where can I find more information on pelindungan tenang product for flood coverage?
Okay, so I think the flood cover is not yet there, right? So we will be working on that as in the second phase, along with the motor thing. So unfortunately, it's not available right now.
Yeah, I mean, it will definitely be announced when it is available. And second, it's more of a suggestion. We have a lot of organization that looking into this, NGO, Zakat organization. Why can't insurance and Takaful association work with this organization to promote pelindungan tenang? That's more suggestion.
We can, absolutely. That nothing. This is a new initiative, right? So it's just started. Yeah. So we welcome all good ideas.
This is something like in the world of a social media, you need to have a influencer, right? So these are who are the influencer of certain community. It can be the imam, it can be the zakat, or so they need to promote this because whatever come up from those that the influencer, then the people that the follower will readily believe, rather than coming from a complete strangers. For example, is trying to promote.
But I would say so far the result is very good.
Yes,
right?
yes. The result is fantastic. Actually, the take-up rate is very is very good, and I'm sure the Minister of Finance is going to be very pleased with that, and I hope Chairman, we are able to get the extension also.
Yeah, of course. See, then you make it part of a going concern, right?
I mean, I really like the idea to promote it through these channels even more actively, NGOs and Zakat Foundation. So I think we should take it up in PM and MTA
Sure.
see ways how we can promote that more.
Anthony, your advice?
Yeah, I think my simple advice to reach a wider audience, right? So you talk about how do I picture this so it's easy to explain. So 2 years ago, none of us wore masks. We are all now wearing this every day. And there's a cost for a mask a day. That's no different from insurance, right? So we've all changed our lives to do this. This is a protection, So it's real. So the mind can connect to something that is a risk, turn it into something, and we change our behavior. We need the same mindset for insurance, right? Just think of it as a mask that you're putting to cover your house or cover your car, whatever it is, and it's you don't have to worry about stuff, right? So it's very important. I think that put something simple in your mind, right?
That's a very good analogy because based on the example you showed just now on the table, my mask costs more than my flight cover. Definitely. So, there you go. So now, very interesting session. If I may basically summarize some of the things that we get today. Sure, flood protection is indeed very important. And the best way is for you to protect yourself from this unnecessary, I have to say that it is unnecessary because it can be protected.
Yes.
Yeah, losses is caused by the flood, and it will enable you to recover more quickly and more completely. And that is very important to be at your feedback. To the situation before the flood is happening. And of course, as Mr. Anthony mentioned, it is now being made affordable, and we should see this is something that we work together. As a Malaysian, basically, we will try to reduce further the price of this cover by participating in it. This is not, I believe, not a commercial gimmick or anything like that. This is a real thing.
Yep.
Like for me in my practice, I always see that whenever there is an event, it will increase the price, and that is the thought of everyone. But today, we're being impressed by Mr. Masai that it's not necessarily be the case. It can actually indeed go down if, let's say, we are all aware about what are the things that is happening around us. So, which is why it is not about understanding, I believe. It's about the awareness that people have. Coming back to the quote that I said earlier, what people do, like for example, participating in this insurance and Takaful, depend on how they feel, the awareness that they have, the importance that they put into of something what they know, which is, the insurance knowledge. So with that, I hope, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the session today. I would like to thank you all our esteemed panelists, moderator, Fern especially, for giving us this opportunity to roll out, have this session here. And this financial webinar that we are basically doing today will be available at www.fennetwork or Fenwork, FENETWORK.my. Also in MTA Facebook page as well as PM YouTube channel. Thank you everyone, and have a good day ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Yep.